Hi folks, my name's James. I'm the owner-operator of Pro TV here in Perth. We've come to film a TV wall mount video today for the website, and we're in the lovely suburb, or a new suburb of Alkimos, and today we're going to fit a 65-inch TV on a brick cavity wall. Now it's a very good example of a classic wall mount. I'm opted for the cavity wall because it actually shows off a full installation, so it is labour, bracket, cables, materials. When we are inside, we're going to talk about which brackets I use and why, various cable options for different wall types, and TV heights and positions and that type of thing, and then obviously run through a basic setup, and so the TV installation is therefore complete. So I think it's time to get ourselves inside and then we'll get filming. This is a very straightforward thing, so what we're going to do now is just measure the centre of the wall. Now this TV today is a 65-inch TV. As regards to heights, a vast majority of them will sit between 1.2 to 1.4 to the middle, but we always work it on a comfortable seating position, so the natural position is eye level. Right guys, you've just seen the bracket getting fitted, and I often get asked which bracket do I use and what do I prefer. Now, I personally fit hundreds of big TVs every year, literally. It's about 50% of my workload, so it can be anywhere around 350 to 400 large screens every year. The vast majority of them will actually sit on this bracket. There's a good reason I actually buy this bracket. It's not the cheapest, but it's included as a standard installation cost. Obviously there's cables on some jobs, but from a bracket point of view, it's simple and it's very, very strong, and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. So what I've done is I chose this one. It's got a good back plate. It's just over 70 centimeters across, which is very good. So if you've got a 50-inch TV, the back plate's not too big. It's not going to be sticking out the sides. That's very important. But also, if you've got a very large TV, like 75 or even an 82 or an 86, this will do the trick. So it's 75 kilo rated. Very, very strong. And another good point with this is actually hollow in the section, hollow section in the middle, which is very important, because what happens in a lot of Perth houses is it's brick, and a lot of them have wall preparation done as well in advance. So it means sometimes you may have power points here or outlets in the way, and these can actually get in the way of some back plates. This being hollow allows you to pinpoint the position of the TV a lot better. If you had a power point here, it wouldn't be such an issue, but if you had a back plate with cross sections in or a solid section in, you'd be then forced to put the back plate above or below, and this then can throw the TV height out quite a lot. So having it hollow is a really good thing, okay? So that's the back plate. Very strong, the right width for medium TVs like 50s, but also very good for the big sets. Right folks, part two to the bracket. We know about the back plate now, it's essential, and it's a very good one. This is part B to the bracket. All brackets come like this, it's part A, part B. This is the bit that goes on the back of the TV. Now you'll see there's plenty of slots, so it's very flexible. For a lot of TVs, they don't all have the same fix and pattern on the back. What the simple thing about this is, it's very, exactly that, it's simple. It goes on the back of the set. When we lift the set on later, all we're going to do is literally hook it on. All the weight of the TV is now done. This just simply hooks on. When we're happy with the final placement and levels and everything's plugged in, we then simply put the locking screws in the bottom, which secures it. One of the key benefits of this bracket is it's tiltable. So if it happens to be going in a bedroom or an office or a school and the TV's going higher, it's not a problem. We've got that 10-degree tilt, which is very useful. And one of the biggest things about this, and this is where a lot of brackets go wrong, they actually don't click in at the bottom. There's no mechanism. Some of them have got springs on them or like a double rail system. So when you're manhandling a very large TV, the last thing you want to do is put it on the wall and have it trapped, because it will just, job will just unravel and get poor. I'm going to hook the big TV on later, and once, because the cable still needs to be plugged in, and all we're going to do is be able to lift the TV out at the bottom. So it makes installation very simple. This allows us to get our hands underneath to plug cables in. And once that's in, we simply put the TV into position, lock it in, and it's finished. There you go guys. Now, 2 decent holes drilled in the wall. I don't like drilling oversized holes because we need to make sure they get covered properly by a normal blank plate. So sometimes that happens and it doesn't look very good. So I've drilled 2 smaller 25mm holes and just chipped out the section in the middle. So that keeps it very neat. It's also big enough for the cables to pass through. We are going to be pulling HDMI cables through now, so we don't want to be breaking the connections or forcing the wires. We want to pull them through nice and clear. The top hole is always angled down a little bit, and that makes the corners a bit smoother. And the bottom hole is angled upwards a little bit, so it's just smoother when we pull the wires through. when I'm going to tape a load of wires on shortly and pull them through. But with the cables, you just separate the connections by 5 or 6 inches, so all the connections aren't meeting at the same hole, at the same spot at the same time, because that makes it too small then. So that, like that, separated cables, angled, will make the cable installation very straightforward. Guys, cable preparation time. So you can see now we're just unpacking all the cables, getting ready for taping on. So everything's about prep. You've got to do everything in the right order. If you don't, you'll be backtracking. You make a disaster of it and you'll end up starting again. So it's very important just to get everything right. And we're going to tape the cables on in a second and we're going to pull them through. Once that's done, we're going to put some brush plates on and cover those holes up. And then we can think about having a tidy up and putting the TV actually on the wall, and then obviously plugging things in and getting the devices sorted. So we're at this stage about halfway through the job. Right folks, an essential part of the job, it's a cavity wall. Walls are drilled. I've just prepped a few cables, HDMI cables. I've got dust caps, so tape them on first. You don't want dirty cables. If you plug things in, it's dusty, and you'll also run the risk of scratching the ends and things like that. So always tape the ends on. I'm now going to tape the cables and stagger them. So when they go through the hole, they pull through nice and easy. You're not pulling them back, and you're not going to be breaking and forcing cables, because you could get to the end of the job to find out you broke a cable. You'd have to take it all back off and start again, and that's a lot of labour. Right folks, there you go. That's the first part of the cables through the wall. As you see, they pull through nice and easy. There's no straining on the cables. Everything's clean and tidy at the bottom, so it's ready to use. So the next task is we're just going to get everything in the right place. Think about the right length for behind the TV and where the cable connections are. It's good to keep that sort of to a minimum really. You don't want cables to be tight. The connections in this sort of area, but they've also got to reach properly. They also can't get trapped. And it's good to have the extra slack at the bottom, because people have got AV units and devices and that type of thing. So if you've got a metre and a half left at the bottom, that's about a perfect length, because you don't want a pile of cables at the bottom either. So these have all been installed using 3-metre cables. Eddie here, our customer, happens to have his AV unit in the corner, his amplifier. So I've actually, instead of putting a 3-metre optical in, I've actually put a 5-metre on this one. So it will reach perfectly to the corner. Cables pull through as you've seen, so now the plates are on now to cover those holes, so it's already starting to look tidy and almost getting to the complete stage. The rest bit now is putting on coaxes, connectors, male, females, all that type of thing, so it's ready to plug in later. And basically, yeah, we're going to have a bit of a tidy up shortly, and then after that we'll be thinking about hanging the TV and getting everything plugged in. Right guys, you've just seen, we've just lifted the TV on, so the prep's finished now. Cables are where they should be. We've cleared the area ready for lifting the TV and so on, which is all common sense. Now we're just going to plug the cables in. So we've got HDMI, coax, obviously power, and an optical lead because of the hi-fi equipment in the corner. So whatever's on screen now will come through the speakers via that cable, which is very good and simple to use. So this is one of the reasons I started off before saying about the bracket and why it's good, because it doesn't get latched into position. The TV's now there. I've just simply put a bit of polystyrene under there and caused a bit of a wedge. Now I've got good access for full arm access underneath, and this allows us to get to the connections without any too much of a battle on our hands, which is really good. So I'll just carry on with this. Right folks, there you go. The TV's just been put on the wall. I've just done a few adjustments for the leveling, which is pretty easy to do on those brackets because they're not fixed on the back, which is good. So they've always got a bit of flexibility in them. You've seen I used polystyrene underneath, so that gives you the hand space. It didn't get trapped. There's no more dramas. Now, before I showed you the locking screws, and that's what that's for. Some TVs are enormous nowadays, so I have to use one of these. So I'm just going to simply lock this into position now, and it will be locked and secure. As it stands in the moment, it's just hanging. It never falls, it's hanging under its own weight, but for safety, always locked into position. Right folks, you've just seen a cavity wall installation, which is almost ready to go now, so we'll do the final setup in a second. Now, today was very important for the website video, because it's really a tool for the website. It's going to help potential customers understand how it works and how the cables go and the different costs and so on. Now, just by pure percentages, half of jobs throughout the year will go on a cavity wall, so you know fully aware what that is now. On my website, it's called cable option 3, so double brick outside cavity wall, and you can hide cables. But on the internal walls, which is on the opposite side here, this is a single brick wall, so you can't hide cables. The internal single brick wall in the house is exactly that. It backs onto another room. And a lot of people say to me in their inquiries, well, I want my TV on the wall, but I don't want to see cables. It's very common. I have it hundreds of times every year. After correspondence, we find out it's an internal wall. So obviously I fit a lot of TVs. I've already established a good practice for this and costs and what's included and all that sort of stuff. So on my website, I've actually got something called cable option 1 and cable option 2. And that applies to internal single brick walls. Now, you'll have to sort of ignore what's here a little bit, but that behind that is another room. And if you don't have the preparation done in the build, it's called service cabling. So below the TVs, the cables will come out using service cable trunking. It's a very neat and tidy and cost-effective solution to putting your TV on the wall. It does look really good. And the people that do have it done are always super impressed and never seem to be worried about service cables afterwards. A lot of new build properties have the wall chased in the build, and that's called a conduit installation. So you'll have all your outlets at the bottom. About midway up the wall, you'll have a series of plates and power maybe on the wall. And this is for all the cables to drop in on the TV installation. But that only really gets done on internal single brick walls, and only normally in new build houses where you as a homeowner have told the builder that's what you're doing, and they will chase the wall and prep the wall in advance. On my website, it's called cable option 2. All that really does is stop the cables being seen on an internal wall, but you still need labour, bracket, materials and cable. It's very important. A lot of people have the perception that if they've had the wall chased, it's all ready to go and just going to put the bracket on. It's not the case. It's actually very similar to this, but we're just not doing the drilling. So that's on my website, that's called cable option 2. But just to move the goalpost a little bit more, there's a cable option 4. Now, just occasionally it works out really well that the internal single brick wall behind that may be somewhere that's out of sight. And I often refer to a garage or a wardrobe, for example. And what that allows you to do is go through the single brick, put the cables down on the back side of the wall, and then come out behind the unit so the cables aren't visible on the inside wall. Now that's called a punch-through installation, and on my website it's cable option 4, but it actually uses up the same materials, labour and parts and accessories and stuff as what the cavity wall does. It's pretty much the same, just that the cables are on the other side, and that's called cable option 4. Right folks, there you go. You've seen a wall mount on a cavity wall, so very traditional Perth house. They're all made of brick, that type of thing, so it's always cabling, preparation. As you've seen, it goes straight on the wall, it's perfect first time. 1.25 to the centre, bang on centre of the room, you know, where it should be, equipment back in. Eddie, our customer today, has just got a streaming box and laptop, so the HDMI leads are already ready at the bottom, and there's an optical lead in the corner for the speaker system. TV's been tuned, it's connected via the Wi-Fi, which works a treat, and that is really what's included in the installation. On my website, that's cable option 3. It's an add-on to a normal wall mount, because it's not just putting a bracket on the wall. If I was to put a bracket on the wall, you wouldn't be happy, because none of that would be done. You'd be left with an installation that's half finished. So it's a full installation, that's what it's always about. Good bracket, good cabling and preparation is essential. There you go. I'm really hoping that little video inside the house now has really sort of demonstrated what's really needed on a typical large TV wall mount installation. It's very important to get all those processes right, so it goes straight on the wall and it looks good straight away. Now, I've been a TV man for 28 years, so I'm very good at it, and I've also been self-employed for 20 years. I do shoot well on Google and Facebook, Instagram, reviews, all those sorts of things. If you need assistance, honestly, do not worry about it, just ask. That's what I'm here to do. It's my full-time job to help you with inquiries, and then I come out and do the jobs. It's not about sales to me, it's about doing a quality installation at a fair price. And it is my job to help you. My business is a service sector business, so it's not about selling. I'm not going to come to the house and sell you some bracket that you don't need. I'm just going to come out and do a very good, clean and tidy job for you. All the pricing's been on the website. It's been there now for over 5 years and it's remained unchanged. So it's a very straightforward and honest approach to pricing and local customer service, and that's what Pro TV is about. I work Monday to Saturday 7 till 7. I do cover all key areas around North and South Perth, so normally a 45-50 minute radius of Joondalup is fine. You can call me Monday to Saturday till 7 till 7 on the phones. Obviously you can email me 24/7 via the website, and if you're a little bit more into social, you can go on Facebook and Instagram if you want to see all the latest photographs and posts, so make sure you check me out on there as well. Obviously things like Messenger and text is perfectly fine. I'm very helpful guys, don't worry about it, just ask, and if I can help you, I will help you.